Hey everyone, welcome to another video. Today we're going to talk about issue number 17 of Uncanny X-Men From the Ashes, written by Gail Simone and art by Andre Bresson. But before we dive into the story, I want to ask you a favor. If you enjoy this video, please leave a like and a comment to help the channel grow. So up to this point, Uncanny X-Men just finished the Dark Artery mini-story. So instead of diving directly into a new arc, the writers decided to slow the pace down. So after saving New Orleans from an undead horde, the kids deserve a night off. So what better way to spend it than going out to the movies? So with that said, this issue opens with Kitty on the phone calling Rogue's team. And while she was on this call, Kitty went on to say, "Well, crap in a crockpot, are you all seeing this?" To which Rogue answered by saying, "We're watching the news report right now. The theaters are reporting lines around the block. Is it as bad as it sounds?" And unfortunately, Kitty had to answer by saying, "Well, I wouldn't say it's promising." Regardless of their location, the movie was poised to be a box office hit. And when it came to Scott's viewpoint, he states, "We've been making progress, real progress for mutants." But this, Scott can't lie, he thinks this is going to be bad for them all. So with that said, on the next page, we then get more input on how everyone views this movie. We get a reporter saying, while the studio producing this film is careful to present it as purely entertainment and not a message meant to spread fear, many are questioning the motives of this film and its creators. So with that said, we then get testimonies from several notable figures ranging from Blade and Magic to a best-selling novelist, all with various opinions on the topic. So with this shit show playing out, some people believe that mutant kind should have gotten ahead of things and created their own PR firm to combat the negativity in the world. And as for Nightcrawler, he didn't really think that the movie would even have legs and suggested that it could actually end up being a flop. But based on reports and rumors, that was far from what was being predicted. If anything, this movie was positioned to set a box office record for any indie film release up to this point. Following that, on a side note, I like how Rogue points out that it was stupid to make a slasher movie with a mutant as the slasher. Because in all honesty, they could have had Mutina use any power they wanted to depict her as a mutant, but instead, they gave her a knife to kill people, just like a non-mutant would. But on the other hand, Wolverine is the prototype slasher mutant. And when it came to the director of the film itself, he went on to claim anti-mutant concerns are wholly unwarranted and people just have to see the movie, if anything. And then he said that the revenge story is actually pro-mutant. And to drive the point home, he then says, "We don't even use the word mutant in the entire running time." But regardless of the intentions that the director claims to have, Marcus walked up and said what everyone was thinking, which was, "Call it what you like, it's gonna lead to pain and hurt. This isn't the world I want my daughter to grow up in, no child should." And this was dead true, because even Rogue's inner thoughts went on to say, Marcus is right. I know he is. We just didn't all want to say it. For all the pontification about that we do, we ain't always done the best job of actually protecting the children. So to combat that, Rogue went on to say, "All right, we set a curfew for the kids, just for a couple of weeks, none of them go anywhere alone." So with that decided, Jubilee then went on to ask if anyone actually seen the kids tonight. And on the next page, we see just where the kids went, and just like a child, they went exactly where they shouldn't have, the movies. So with all the kids excited to see it, Death Dream makes a point to point out that he wanted to watch a cartoon movie with the funny singing lobster. Following that, on the next 2 pages, we get to see just a small peek of the movie, and by the way the movie looks, it reminds me of I Know What You Did Last Summer. However, as the movie unfolded, we saw how Death Dream fell asleep, and Calico was scared out of her mind. And once the movie was over, the Outliers then made their way to a diner and started to unpack their experiences with the movie. And Calico kicked it off by saying, "I normally like scary movies, but this, it just made me feel bad for some reason." And then Calico joined in and asked if this was how people really saw them. Because in that movie, mutants were depicted as monsters. So with a feeling of depression setting in, Death Dream finally spoke up and said, "That's how they ruin us. Constantly showing us at our worst, by the worst of us. That way, they're in our heads even when they're miles away. So they can hurt us and break our spirit. Even when we close our eyes, when we're alone in the dark." So with that information out there, 3 teens approached the Outliers table, and when they got there, the lead man said, "Hey guys, listen, maybe you can help me with a little bet I got going with my man Willie here. We were in the movie with you, and we overheard you talking. Willie says you're just some random losers. But me, I say you're dirty stinking toxic muties." So with that insult leveled, Death Dream picked up his pretzels and said in a cold voice, "Your dad says hello." Now this pissed the man off instantly, because according to him, his father had been dead for a while now. So as the boy was about to attack, Death Dream took on this hellish look and stated, "He also said he always knew you'd turn out like this." And just to drive his point home, Death Dream summoned his father's spirit, and once he was there, the spirit said, "Leave them kids alone, I ain't too dead to tan your hide." So with this fully on display, Calico was left watching as she started to consider if they were really monsters or not. Following that situation, on their way home, Jitter started to think to herself and said, "I know it was just a movie, but Death Dream was right." And because of that, Jitter's inner thoughts then continued to say, "This is how they ruin us." And as they walked to the house, we learned that they actually snuck out, stole the car, and saw the movie, which was high on the do not watch list. So of course, once inside, Jitter predicted that they were going to get a lecture from Aunt Rogue, but to their surprise, this lecture was short and to the point, like her heart wasn't in it. And then the next morning, we see how Calico had a nightmare that caused her to sleep on her floor, because much like Jitter, the event of the night before weighed heavily on her too. And to make it worse, once they got to school, Jitter was greeted with a rude awakening, because on her locker, the newest slur was painted on full display. The words "Go away, Mutina." So as emotion started to overcome Jitter, the once blonde-haired bully approached her with a bucket and cleaning supplies, and offered to help clean up the mess, because surprisingly, the once bully called the boy who did this tools, and confessed that he was also bullied as a kid because he also had a stutter. So just as they started to bond, out of nowhere, Calico, not reading the situation correctly, jumped into action to defend her friend. Which wasn't the best move at all, because all that managed to do was suspend them for 3 days. So following that, later on that night, Jitter's inner thoughts went on to say, "This is how they ruin us. All those mutant kids out there, who don't have any ice cream, don't have anyone who loves them for what they are ruined." The actress who plays Mutina is doing a press conference in the city, so now will be the best time to go and say hi. So fast forward to the next page, we then see Calico flying Jitter to pay a visit to Mutina. And when we get there, we then see Mutina getting prepared for her show, and as she sat there, she said, "You might as well come out, you know. You can't hide from me in the shadows, it's kind of my thing." So with the outliers called out, both Jitter and Calico exited from the shadows and said, "We're not here to hurt you, I hacked your data, and I found your vlog." So with Jitter finding hinted about, Mutina went on to ask, "And what did you find, my little stalker friends?" With that question asked, Jitter just came out and said that you're just some troll, playing a mutant despite hating mutants. Because apparently Mutina has been moonlighting as an online troll bashing mutants any chance she gets. So with her identity outed, Mutina put on her mask and went on to say, "Every crap city, every hick town, a couple freaks like you show up unwanted and uninvited. A normie who hates mutants? You're half right." So as the battle continued, we discovered that Calico, for some reason, couldn't summon Ember because Ember hated knives. So, with Calico basically useless, Jitter jumped in and activated her ability around Iron Fist's fighting style. But despite the fighting style she chose, Mutina still managed to put Jitter on her ass. And as Jitter fought for her life, Mutina went on to say, "All mutants ever do is talk, you make them hate us. Why can't you just shut up and fit in? It doesn't matter, I'm sick of all of you. And no jury will convict me." So with everything going completely against what Jitter thought was going to happen, she quickly told Calico that this was a bad idea, and she should get out of here, and she would hold her off. Following that, Mutina started to shout, "Say it and I'll let you live. Say, murder me, Mutina." So just as Mutina started to bring that knife down, on the next page, Wolverine and the X-Men portaled in and caught her by her hand, ending this battle. So with everything wrapping up, Jitter approached Mutina and started to say, "She hates us, I can feel it. But she hates herself more. Letitia, I asked before, this is going to cause so much pain." Following that, Mutina stepped in and said, "Oh, I get it. You think you win. You think I can't come for you. How was the ice cream?" And with that last statement, Jitter put 2 and 2 together and noticed that she could read minds. So with that said, Mutina then went on to say that this isn't over, because her movie was already greenlit for a sequel. So as everyone walked through the portal, Wolverine told them all to go ahead because he wanted to have a few words with Mutina. And once they were gone, she told Logan that he hadn't faced anyone like her before, and she would be everywhere. And to that, Logan popped his claws and said, "Maybe, but come near those kids again, and I will show you a slasher story." And with that said, this issue of Uncanny X-Men comes to an end. Now down in the comment section below, let me know your thoughts about this issue and what predictions you could have moving forward. So with that established, I hope you enjoyed this video, and please don't forget to leave a like and a comment if you want to see more videos like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.